because you guys are the backbone of the economy here in Arizona. When you guys thrive, everyone else thrives. And so I think that this is a real privilege and honor that Robert and Faith are giving both Jay and myself the platform to speak to you on how you guys can start thinking differently on how you guys view your business, how you run your business, and what types of tools, more specifically data, that you can use to make your business more effective and more efficient and just be holistically a better business owner. And so I am going to start sharing my screen here. And Jay, I don't know, I know I'm kind of mainly presenting, but is there anything that you kind of want to say to everyone before we kind of get started here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the ACA for having us, and thank you for all the participants for joining today. The topic of data is something that on the surface might sound really exciting, but data is so critical to every business, and having good data and knowing how to properly read the data is such a critical element to having a strong business. And so thank you, Eric, for putting together this presentation and picking this topic. I think it's very relevant in today's environment.
Absolutely. And what you will know is if you really think long and hard about our daily lives, there is data everywhere at the foundation of every single thing that we do, whether if it's the text messaging that you're sending your loved ones on a day-to-day basis, if it's an invoice that you're paying for to run your business, if it's payroll that you're doing to pay your employees, or if it's sales that you're generating. There's data at the foundation of every single transaction and almost every single activity that we do on a daily basis. And so it's how we need to understand that data, how we can leverage it, and how we can put it to use toward each of our respective businesses. Because garbage in, garbage out, if you have bad data, you're not going to get any use or utility from it. You're not going to benefit from it. So at the foundation of all these transactions is you want to make sure that you're using it correctly and then understanding it and then putting it towards good use. And so that's holistically the main idea of what we're going to be going through here today at of just understanding data and how each of you as a business owner can use to your benefit and leverage in your day-to-day businesses. So as I already said, my name's Eric. I'm a director here at Walker Armstrong. I have over 13 years of public and private accounting and tax experience. I've done plenty of business advisory, consulting, tax planning, strategy consulting. I also have quite a wealth of knowledge in terms of fractional CFO, knowledge in terms of just holistically how to run a business, how everything is kind of directly and indirectly related. I have plenty of experience with indirect taxes as well. And then more importantly, I have plenty of experience of navigating audits in terms of, being able to strategically position myself and my clients dealing with the IRS and the Department of Revenue. Um, my firm that I currently work for has been, is a 3-generation firm. We're known for client retention, personal line service, recognition for delivering quality and timely products. Um, and the and one of the things at the bottom there is you'll see our managing partner Jay. He's been recognized as one of the brightest and innovative Arizona entrepreneurs, and he's taken the mindset of leveraging data and technology. And so that kind of feeds into what we're talking about today of being able to leverage that data and that source and putting it to good use, which we are currently doing at our firm, thanks to him. We currently have 3 offices: Phoenix, Tucson, and Carefree. Um, and so the topics of discussion today is data and how data is surrounded by all of us every single day. And so to start we need to understand our business data. What are the ins and outs? What's triggering the creation of this data? And then once we understand it, we'll be able to take the mindset of maintaining the data and making sure that it's staying um, in a capacity that's good to use for you guys. And then thirdly is once we understand it, we're maintaining it, the integrity of the data is good, then we want to start enhancing the data and more importantly, start enhancing those processes around that's leveraging the data. Any questions so far in terms of what we're going to be talking about today, or is there anything in addition that you guys would like me to maybe kind of sprinkle in throughout the course of the presentation? Feel free to add a Q&A or a chat comment. And Jay, if you could, if I'm presenting, if you see something in the chat that's relevant, just feel free to pause and I can answer it.
Absolutely.
All right. How is business data created? So in your chat, if some of you can start putting in some of your suggestions of how businesses, or excuse me, how business data is created, I would love to know your initial thoughts of how it is created. There are no wrong answers here, by the way.
Okay, we have some responses here. ERP system, contracts, project
Very good.
finance reviews, project management tools, system matrix standard processes.
So Jessica, all five of those suggestions are warehouses of data. So let's think a little bit more granular. System matrix and standard processes. That's kind of the same concept. It's more of a data warehouse for and housing data. Daily transactions is kind of the foundation of how data is generated and created. Yeah. I hear you, Jessica. I hear you. Data can be
Uh,
totally monotonous sometimes in terms of just the repetitiveness of what we do to input data into our respective ERP, accounting, payroll, whatever type of software that we're using on a day-to-day basis to input that data into a tracking mechanism can be, a lot, really. Um, but so just having you guys understand that data is created and from a business perspective, when we enter into daily transactions. And what I mean by that is when you make a sale and you put something on your accounts receivable on your books, or you collect cash, um, you have customer data, you have customer addresses, EIN numbers, everything that encompasses a sale, you want to start keeping just being cognizant of being able to track that data into your respective system and seeing it if you're able to leverage it in terms of how you run your business, how you're thinking of strategically using that data to make business decisions, right? On the counterpart, you have expenses as well. So when you get an invoice, you have a payee, you have an address, you have an actual amount, and then that amount goes into your respective expense general ledger account. Thinking of how you can take that respective data slash information from that expense and putting it into a format or fashion on your general ledger that makes sense to you, right? You want to set up your profit and loss statements, your balance sheet accounts in a way that makes sense for you because every business operates differently. There's not one cookie cutter shape that you can create your financial statements. You want to create them in a way that benefits you, but also benefits the data that is coming in into creating your financial statements. So understanding business data. So I already kind of mentioned the sales and the revenues and like when you receive cash in. And then I alluded to creating general ledger accounts for, if you're selling services, if you're selling tangible products, you can create general ledger accounts from the data that you have, maybe some really material, important clients that maybe you want to segment on your profit and loss statement to remind you to maybe track them. Or maybe you can help forecast some of those important clients, on a rolling monthly calendar year. If I know John Smith buys $20,000 of product or service from me at the end of every quarter, I can anticipate that to my benefit. I can go in and look at the GL detail from John Smith that I've laid out on my P&L, and I can use that to my benefit. On expenses, cash out, there are day-to-day administrative and cost of doing business expenses that are just fundamentally sound to each of our businesses. And being able to reduce those and optimize the cost to support those revenues is what we want. And setting up your general account ledger to, again, to support the data that's created with your daily transactions, this is going to help you make those decisions. For example, cost of goods sold. If I make computers, hypothetically speaking, and I know the motherboard and the keyboard that goes into the creation of those laptops, I can pinpoint, okay, cost of goods sold. I have keyboards and I have motherboards. I can actually itemize each of those respective expenses and look into more of the details as to see what is triggering those margins of profit from the cost of goods sold to what I'm actually bringing in. This helps you position yourself to understand each of the transactional items for each sale. And also it gives you the mindset of what it costs for you to make a business transaction with a customer. If you're starting to see that, the cost of your keyboards or your motherboards are going up and one's going down, you might want to ask a question why. Maybe go back to your supplier, be like, hey, why is the cost of the motherboards going up? I think you need an explanation. That'll maybe give you the the mindset to go back and maybe think for a different supplier, because now your margins are being different. Maybe you're not making as much would have normally would have. And so honing in and understanding data for each daily transaction and using it in a way that benefits your business, and nobody knows your business better than you, the business owner, to make everything more efficient and more effective. And so data really helps put it into perspective of the money that you bring in and the money that is leaving the business to actually conduct and generate money. Any questions on this slide? There are no bad questions. I welcome any type of additional insight that you guys may have regarding what I'm talking about, or even if it's totally non-related. I think there are no bad ideas or bad questions. So I welcome any type of interaction. All right. As I said before, no one knows your business and its data better than you. If you were to come, if you were to like come to me, hey Eric, I really need help on, really kind of figuring out why my profit margins are so low. I can help you ask questions to get to the root fundamentals of what may be causing the problem. But you as the business owner and you as the data interpreter of each of these transactions, no one knows it better than you. And so being able to take that ownership and being able to strategically run your business, you need to take that mindset that you guys you're at the top of the chain. No one is going to do anything unless it's the direction of you. And so we need to use this to your advantage. And you can also use this to actually understand your business's life cycle. And I kind of alluded to already this on one of the previous slides of, um, if you have clients that spend a lot, December 31st, like Apple has a large spike of sales in Q4 because people are buying for Christmas. And so they anticipate that and they gear a lot of their strategies and marketing initiatives around that data that creates that strategy. Data is the foundation of every business transaction, which can be a very powerful tool if we take the time to understand the how and the why. Putting your data in a useful fashion. You can have spreadsheets and spreadsheets of data, encompassing customer addresses, um, you know, payroll information, the cost of goods sold, administrative, postage, technology fees, mailing fees, Wi-Fi costs, your cell phone bill. You know, it's being able to put that data for each transaction into your general ledger and also just kind of into your CEO mindset of being able to make decisions. Like, for example, like putting sales information into your accounting software to support each respective sales transaction, your customer name, your address. This will give you the insight to track that data and maybe look at customer sales trends, leverage marketing initiatives like I already mentioned that Apple does. But I mean, you guys need to be the one to take that data and prioritize it in a way that makes sense for your business. Putting invoice details into your accounting software and for your supporting expenses. Are you identifying that there are costs that you're overspending? You know, are you like, for example, um, if if I'm making light bulbs and the glass that goes into the outside should be maybe one of the more material items that goes into the creation of the light bulb. And I think that that's the more material cost to create that good, but it's actually the little metal piece at the bottom. Well, that doesn't make sense. The data can help you challenge the status quo, being able to have that fresh perspective of how you guys run your business. It could also help you go through that maybe you don't even need. If you build out your data infrastructure that leads into your ERP system or your accounting system, it's going to give you the mindset of having all of the accurate data that you need to make decisions readily available to you. For example, have you guys seen the commercials where, you know, so it's an app that, helps people get rid of the subscriptions that they don't need, but they're just not aware of it because it's never been presented to them. Same concept here. If you're able to take that data from some of the non-applicable, non-value add or and expenses to your business, this helps you put it in a format for you can like, oh my gosh, why am I spending, $6,000 on, something that's not even generating revenue for the business? There you go. Taking that data, understanding that data, and putting in good use to make business decisions. Oh, oh, sorry, Faith. I thought you had a question, but it's actually you you reminding everyone to have a question. Um, another thing that you can do to kind of hone in and enhance data is maybe create specific cost centers. Group similar revenues, similar expenses. And what's going to create that similarity is the data, is the foundation of the data. And um, another example, so taking the cost centers and maybe going a step further is creating a profit and loss statement within the aggregate profit and loss statement of the business. And what that means is, for example, I've been working with a client most recently, and he makes his own cookies and ice cream. And he loves being able to get out and introduce his product to the market. But sometimes he has to pick and choose between, what market or what festival to go to. And I tell him, have you seen any type of identifying information that would make you choose over the two? And he couldn't answer. And so I posed a different question to him: is which festival is more profitable? And he goes, I don't know. And so I told him, well, maybe we need to structure your ERP system and or your general ledger accounts to segregate each market or festival that you guys go to, so you can actually see the profit margins of what maybe this business owner would make if he went to, the Gilbert, the um the Gilbert Farmers Market, the downtown Phoenix Farmers Market. He's able to actually go in and and he's actually supposed to start creating this and implementing this, and he's very curious to see if he's making more money, if he's selling more product, if he's seeing that his margins are better. Is he getting more market presence, with certain traction depending on what festival he goes to? And so he's able to leverage the data that his clients are getting him based on where he's choosing to go. And now he's using that as a strategy of making business decisions. And I told him, if you had a choice between a different farmer's market that's both going on a Saturday, wouldn't you want to choose the one that's more profitable to you, that's more worth your time? And of course, the answer is yes. And I wanted him to start thinking of how he can use the data to get to a point to where he can start making decisions like that. Oh, Jessica, I see your question. You've had projects increase over the years for growth, and that means my normal expenses change drastically. How do you know what is expected versus not? And at what point do you say this is an expense that isn't reasonable for my size and revenue, etc.? Great question. I think your one, I think, is comparing the expense related to the possible revenue that you could be generating. Obviously, there's just the cost of doing business. There's market trends. There's inflation that we need to consider. And I think you bring up a really good question. And I think what we want to do is leverage data to get to a comfortable place to make a decision respective to your question. It's something that you as business owners should be thinking about and challenging every single day. And unfortunately, I don't think there is a direct answer to that. But what I can provide to you is we need to exhaust all different avenues and applicable data that's readily available to you to help make that decision. Jay, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Eric, yeah, I think that's a great response to Jessica's question. One other thing I wanted to add to that particular question is distinguishing between variable costs and fixed costs. And so to the extent that your revenues are increasing and your expenses are increasing proportionally, and you still have a good profit margin, then that's great. Fixed costs can be a bit of a challenge though, because
Yep.
fixed costs, for example, space costs, are fixed, and those costs stay the same regardless of what your revenues are doing. So I always talk with our clients about just being mindful of your fixed costs, because the fixed costs can really erode your profit margin over time.
Great point, Jay. And and the foundation to Jay's explanation is data. It's always going to be data. And then you can go back to your respective supplier, or merchant that you're working with that's triggering that additional fixed cost. If it's your cable company, is your payroll not suitable to the actual revenues that the company is generating? Are the cost of goods sold going up, but your revenues are staying the same? So there's a different variable cost perspective that you can take. If your variable costs are going up, but your revenues aren't correlating with those increased prices or costs, you need to raise your hand. You need to stop and think and basically take the perspective that Jessica's taking. Does that make sense? Is it reasonable? And you as the business owner need to take that initiative to guide it. At the end of the day, and again, this goes back to Jessica's question, you guys know your business better than anybody, and you're always going to do what's best for your business. And it's always helpful to ask for a helping hand when maybe you're asking for a different perspective on how to navigate. But you guys know at the foundation of everything, you know what's good for your business. This 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 presentation is supposed to give you the tools to optimize you guys as business owners to make those right decisions or to challenge the decisions that you're thinking about making and going back and leveraging data to see if it actually supports or if it contradicts the decision that you're thinking about making. Hmm. So now that we understand data, we're maintaining the integrity of the data and it's in a useful state for us to start using. Now we need to enhance the business data. And the next step is to actually start strategizing with that organized data. I already alluded to using forecasts for revenues, understanding your clients, your expenses, your profit margins. Your profit margins are going to go up or down depending on the fixed and or variable cost. You can always take a rolling 12-month rolling calendar cash flow snapshot at any time. You don't have to wait till December to get your 12-month numbers. You can use, if we're halfway through the year, maybe you can use the year before's under, maybe you could use the prior year's uh, financial statements to maybe forecast the last 6 months. You know, being able to utilize and optimize available applicable data to make business decisions and strategize is where we want to get. And so the idea of data being an additional decision tool, we want it to be one of the main tools. We want to use facts. We want to use tangible, applicable information. We don't want to just go off gut and emotion and feeling. There's times to do that, but primarily we want to really focus on in making decisions on something that we can anchor ourselves down on and saying, I felt good about making that business decision because of the data, because of the facts that I was able to rely on. Instead of, oh, I felt really good about that client, based on the coffee that we had, I'm going to invest a lot of money into him or her. That's not smart. Using data is smart. It's factual, it's real, it's historical. That's a much better way to strategize and make business decisions than I feel good about something. So we've gone through a lot so far. This is the mindset that we'd like to ideally get to in terms of using data. We need to have data awareness. It's always going to be around us. Data is never going away, especially now that we're currently in and been in this technology era for quite some time now. We need to start thinking that data is an asset. We need to start thinking that data can be helpful. It's not a burden. Sure. Is it a burden when we have to input things into our systems? Of course it is. But that's a step that you're taking to make data in a tangible, leverageable fashion. Data is insightful. It provides a lot of different perspectives. And then overall data is an advantage. There's a lot of companies out there that are still in the typewriter, Excel, paper financial statement mindset. And it's very, very hard to see that people are not open to the idea of leveraging technology and more specifically leveraging data. It makes a world of a difference in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. The other thing that technology and data do is it minimizes human error. Computers are programmed to do certain things, And having data, having that feel good safeguard of just having good applicable information readily available to you that's not bad is a good feeling. And so getting to that mindset of understanding, maintaining, enhancing, and kind of really living the data that is it's all around us and just being able to leverage it. So now that we've taken all of this time, effort, and energy of developing, understanding, categorizing, and keeping data central, we need to go a step further by protecting it. So we are in a cyber technological age right now, but what that kind of exposes us up to now is threats. People trying to steal our information. We need us as business owners, we have an objective and a duty to protect the business. And what that means is protecting its employees' information, our customers, our customer information, and all the data that goes in and out of our business. Yeah. We need to take the time and effort to make the necessary steps to protect data, because all that time and effort that you spent getting data into a fashion that's usable, we need to protect it, because then we start jeopardizing the integrity. We start jeopardizing um, the employee down the hall that worked really hard to help get the data in the way that it's currently in. We need to take the perspective of protecting it. And by doing so, some things to keep in mind is how data is shared. Sending things via email are a thing of the past. Emails can easily be um, infiltrated and stolen. So if hypothetically, if I send an Excel spreadsheet with all the payroll information of all 150 of my employees, and I have 150 social security numbers and 150 personal addresses with their wages, and someone gets a hold of that, that's not good news to share with your employees that, hey, I had a cybersecurity breach and your social security number might have been stolen. It's good to have that data in a way that's useful to the business and to do payroll. If you have 150 employees that work in different states, you need to submit the withholding to each of those Department of Revenues. It's good data to have. It's data that you need to be in compliance. But we need to be smart in how we protect that data, because it's not necessarily ours. It's our employees. It's our customers. And once we have that data in our ownership, it's our responsibility to protect it. So instead of using email, I mean, if you're going to use email because there's no other way to maybe to transmit something, is encrypt the files with a password and then separate the key from the lock. So if I'm sending an email and I have an encrypted or password protected file, I'm going to tell the recipient of the email that, hey, I'm going to be sending the password in a separate email from this email that actually has the file. So separating the lock and the key are steps that we can take to protect data. There are so many secure platforms for uploading data to a common area for someone to go get. There's Dropbox, there's SafeSend, um, there are drives, whether if it's Google or Outlook. There's a lot of different ways to keep data secure and transmitting them um, through technology. Um, Ask yourself the question is, who data is shared with? Look at email addresses. There's so many spam and scammers out there that just send, hey, you I know you got a Department of Revenue notice, but here, click on this link and this will, make everything a little bit more easy, streamlined. There's a lot of different phishing things out there to kind of, you know, capture us. Ask yourself, is the information necessary? Oh, Faith. Oh, okay. Ask yourself, is the information necessary? Is it necessary for the receiver to have? I'm just going to make something up. So I have, I provide consulting, and when I invoice somebody, I need to get their W-9, because I have to, either if I'm creating a 1099 and I need to submit that 1099 to the IRS or to the state of Arizona, that requires a social security number. And so if I have a database that's housing all of the different consultants that I'm paying to run my business, if I need to transmit that information, I don't think I need to share their social security number. If I'm just if I have like a client's name and the amount of money that I'm paying them, and I'm using that data I'm trying to share that with a colleague of mine, I can just remove that personal identifiable information off the spreadsheet because they don't need it. All they care about is the actual number that we're paying them. They're using it for strategy purposes. So having the mindset of the data that I'm sending, what does it entail? Who is it going to? And is it necessary? So does my colleague need social security numbers? No, I can remove that. And I'm sure the people that those social security numbers are will be thanking me later because I didn't submit it via email without it being protected, and it's to a person that has no use for it. One of my paying accounts got locked, and to reinstate my account, support asked me for bank account social security number. So how do I distinguish between PII data and support identification? Um, Good question. So some of the institutions like banking, credit checks, credit cards, some of the more the parties that you're going to be engaging with that actually need your PAI data to make sure that it's you, and there's no way around it. And so, Jessica, can you repeat the question or post it here? Um, I guess I'm not really following. Faith, do you know what Jessica and Upma are talking about?
Yeah, no problem. Jessica's just asking to reinstate Utma's question. So I will post that in the chat so everyone can see it because it just came to us as hosts and panelists.
Hmm, gotcha. Okay. Sorry, Jessica, I missed the little blue font above next to Upma's comment. So Upma's question so one of her paying accounts got locked, and to reinstate her account, she has to give some PII data. And my response to that is there are going to be some institutions and parties that we on a day-to-day basis engage with that you just have to provide your PII data just to ensure that it's you. There's so many imposters out there. There's so many scam artists out there that try to get access to working with these PII data and, taking out credit cards, taking out loans, and just ruining someone's life via fraud, that we have to provide PII data. But where I'm coming from is if we have to work with colleagues, work with someone that could be wanting to use the data, but then just having the mindset of understanding what the data contains and who am I sharing that data with, and just asking, is it necessary? Obviously, if you're banking, or excuse me, if your employer needs your banking information so they can pay you, I think that's an okay thing to give. Go ahead, Jay.
One thing I wanted to add to that is to be very wary of providing that information, even over the phone. Um, if you have a banking relationship in which you can go there in person and provide that information, then that's what I would do.
Good point, Jay. limiting paper trails are always helpful, but I mean, just because we live in this technological digital age, sometimes it's kind of hard to physically go be in person to alleviate that paper trail of your personal identifiable information. It's just a decision you have to make, and then taking the necessary steps to protect it. And the people that work at places that do respect how you treat your information are going to be respectful of however it is that you feel comfortable transmitting that data. But you, as the owner of the data and that you are sharing it, you need to take the ownership of doing the same. All right, everybody. So that kind of concludes everything that I've talked about, and looks like I'm 2 minutes off my schedule, which is pretty good. So I have 15 minutes left for any type of questions or any thoughts, concerns, worries, or just any type of feedback. Really, I'm here to be an open book and provide my perspective in any way that I can.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eric and Jay. As Eric's mentioned, please, if you have questions, please enter those in the Q&A or chat. Happy to monitor both and address those questions. I appreciate Eric so much. Thank you for bringing in that security information. We always talk about data, but not always about the security of it. And so we do have other small business bootcamp sessions that are related to cybersecurity for your small business. So if that maybe twinged an idea in your mind, I encourage you to visit our content library so you can dive a little bit deeper in that topic. But truly, data is the epicenter of all tools and information. So thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention and walking us through how we can collect that.
I thought it was, I know it wasn't really included, but just because of what we were talking about, I thought maybe kind of adding security into the end of the presentation was just really, really useful, especially in terms of the age that we're currently living in and working in. It's something that we just need to be cognizant about.
Definitely, definitely. And just kind of going back to Utma's question regarding an entity asking for that personal information, please always feel free to reach out to that organization on your own. It's always a great attempt if you feel like you're being pressured to answer those questions right away. It might be a little red flag. So please, I encourage you to reach out to the asking entity. Eric does have a question in the chat. Do you
I
have it?
see it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Do you have experience or a perspective on the idea of a data room? In other words, a place to store and share company confidential documents with parties who might be conducting due diligence or funding or partnership purposes. Wonderful question. Yes, I have used a data room or a cloud-based data storage saving mechanism in order to share data with other people. And first step is whatever platform you're using is making sure it's secure and only granting access to the respective parties who need that data to that room. You don't want that to be, you're opening the door to having the respective team that you're engaging with. You don't want the whole team to have access to it. Ask questions on who specifically needs access to that data. You mentioned a partnership purpose. There's partnership agreements that are in there. Maybe you only want the partnership agreement to be access to the actual partners of the business. You don't want all employees to have access to that. It's just having that fine comb of weeding out things that aren't applicable, that are applicable, and to the right stakeholders. um, you know, there's a lot of due diligence that's conducted in terms of, if you're looking at selling your business, you're looking for, any type of consulting or engagement from a third party, is just taking the necessary steps to protect that data. And the data room is a good idea.
Excellent. Thanks for that response, Eric. All right. Well, it seems that we have no additional questions in the chat or Q&A. So I encourage you all, if you want to go back and listen to this recording, it will be part of our content library. Eric provided some great information. And so if it needs to just be revisited so you can align it with you and your business, please don't hesitate. Today's slide deck and recording will be uploaded to our website. Well, since there are no additional questions in the chat, just thank you. I want to take my time to say thank you, Eric and Jay, for spending some time with us this morning and our audience to share the importance of data in their businesses. It just rings so true, and always happy to have this conversation. So thank you again for joining us, Eric and Jay. Thank you for participants for joining us and asking your questions in the chat. We encourage you to join us next Tuesday again at 9 a.m. as we talk about everyone's additional favorite topic, retirement planning. So whether it's data or retirement, we need to keep it in mind. So thanks again, Eric and Jay, for your time. Eric is sharing his contact information if you have additional questions or follow-up, but please, this information will be attached with today's session resources as well. So if you do come across a question you would like to reach out to, please do not hesitate to reach out to Eric, Jay, and the team at Walker and Armstrong. Thank you both so much again for your time. Thank you all for participating, and we will see you next week. Have a great day.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you,
Really
everybody.
appreciate it. Thank you.